Perfect. Well, welcome everyone in the room and whoever's listening to Social Gastronomy in Practice with Platos Sin Fronteras in our Media Hub. We've created Social Gastronomy in Practice with a purpose of actually digging deeper into some social gastronomy models from our amazing members, so you can really understand what the model is based on, what challenges on that journey actually the entrepreneurs and the teams had to go through, and also the learning so that you can take that model into your own local community. So it is my pleasure to actually welcome Paola and Mona from Platos Sin Fronteras in Medellin, Colombia. To kick us off, Paola and Mona, why don't you give a quick introduction about yourself, and then we'll kick off with a deep dive into Platos Sin Frontera.
Thank you, Miki. As always, super happy to be here and to share and to participate with our team. Like, I'm Paola, the founder of Platos Sin Fronteras, and we're right now located here in Medellin, Colombia. And yeah, Mona.
Hi, everyone. Also, thank you for the invitation, for the possibility to talk about Platos Sin Fronteras. My name is Mona. I'm actually from Germany, but I'm living here in Medellin, and I'm working at Platos. It's been 2 years, and I actually got here through Über den Tellerrand, which is another member of the social gastronomy movement from Germany. So really excited to be here and share and learn.
We'll pick your brains about that connection a little more after. But to warm us up a little bit, I would like to hear from both of you actually, what does social gastronomy mean to both of you? So let's stick to the order. Paola and Mona.
Perfect. Yeah, I mentioned it also last time. Like for me, it means like union, love, nutrition, a lot of friendships, a lot of net friendships, and really new opportunities. Because for everyone who has been joining and is looking for more purpose in the gastronomic sector, or is looking for opportunities through food, Platos has been like opening a door of infinite opportunities. Not only for the women who participate in the education processes, but for everyone, like for the volunteers, for our colleagues, for companies who are joining the network. Like, it's really the infinite possibilities. That's for me social gastronomy.
Totally agree with what Paola just said. So for me, it's also like it's collaboration, it's connection, it's community regarding food, right? So it's bringing together people from different sectors with different backgrounds, interests, can be public sector, private sector, academic sector, just people from the communities, and we all come together through food. So that's amazing.
Thank you, ladies. All right, well then, Paola, I'll kick you off with the first question about the model, and that would be to the big why. Why did you start Platos Sin Fronteras, and how? If you could detail that out a little bit for us.
For me, like, and what I mentioned, for me, it was like really, I was at a moment where a lot of different know-hows, people were coming together. And we saw like a chance. So it was really like women were saying, when I was volunteering in Moravia, which is a vulnerable community, while I was still working in the government in Medellin, I heard that they wanted to learn to do new recipes. So it was not really related to food insecurity, but it was really like every time we're like eating the same breakfast, we're having our same lunches, we want to have more diversity in our kitchen. And the idea there was like, I was like, okay, maybe I'm not a cook or a chef, but I can connect and I can invite chefs and people who want to teach us new recipes. So that's how Platos started, but more from that I was actually volunteering myself. So I was looking for more purpose while I was working in the government, even if the public sector offers you a lot of social work as well. But I really was going on the weekends, painting walls with some architects from Berlin, actually. The project is called Oasis Urbano now. They have also a beautiful transformation project. And that project inspired me. I was like, okay, like there is something more. Like I have to, and of having worked so much in networking and open innovation processes, more on a coordination level. I was like, I want to know, really be in community and understand better what the problems are. And then it was serendipity. I think that I somehow kind of like fell into gastronomy and cooking and nutrition. And from there, like the whole movement started. And I think it was also a wonderful moment when I went to Nyam Festival with all the different members from Social Gastronomy, and I was sitting there listening to everyone were social entrepreneurs and everyone had beautiful stories. And I remember I was very energized afterwards. I was like, oh yeah, I had this little idea, but actually I'm not alone with that idea. And then I got really inspired of every single story I heard. And then I went back and I was like, I'm going to keep doing this, like I'm not alone in that field. And maybe I didn't also have a name for it. So it was Platos Sin Fronteras. But now, like, we are integrating the social gastronomy concept and social gastronomy pillars in our model. So like, it was a magic, I think, on a local level, and then the global on a global scale with everyone who is part of the movement.
So seeing the need, having the need for purpose, and also seeing that possibility, actually, right?
Mm-hmm. Completely.
And can I just follow up on one question? Because I personally know that to the point Mona made, über den Tellerrand, there is a strong link, and to the power of actually getting inspired with other stories, but not only inspired, but also learning with others. Could you give us a little bit more about that learning process with über den Tellerrand as well?
Yes, of course. So I really believe the diverse idea of the social gastronomy movement, because, for example, in Berlin, it's of course, it's a bit of a different context, a focus, because at Über den Tellerrand, where I've been volunteering for quite some years now, the idea is through food, like to create encounters. We have a strong focus on migration and refugees, to integrate people from different backgrounds through food, right? Because we might have like a cultural or language barrier, but food connects us all. And that's like really the idea that I believe in. And then because I also already had like a personal connection to Colombia, I got to know Paola at some point in Berlin. And I was like, wow, I can actually connect like all the things I care about, because it's also food as a tool for social change, like the philosophy, but then it's also working especially in education, in nutrition education, with a focus on women. In Berlin, I was also responsible for the female cooking events. And I was like, okay, this is like the perfect opportunity for me in Colombia to connect all this. And also, I feel like I'm also like a beneficiary. I'm learning so much because, I didn't study food insecurity, or I didn't study nutrition. So I'm also like, I'm super thankful, super grateful for all the opportunities, because here, like, I can bring some of my experience from Berlin, of course, and like community events and like organizing, coordinating. But then also there's so much more to add, because it's a different context, of course. So I feel like I'm also learning a lot from this process.
Great, thank you. So now I think we've heard a little bit, but we want to learn about the model. So could you actually detail out a little bit about Platos' model, and what does that practically mean?
Great. I think because we're going to dig a little bit deeper into the model, so we prepared a presentation for it. So sometimes it's a little easier to grab. And then afterwards, if you have questions, we can definitely go even deeper. So give me a second to share. So as Mona was saying, our focus, and I also want to mention this because the ones who saw Über den Tellerrand, I think a month ago in the learning journey, we have the same logo. And the reason for it is because we already started, and that was even more coincidence, was because I was looking for a mobile kitchen to cook in the community, and I was looking online for mobile kitchens. And the first project which came up was Kitchen on the Run in Germany. So I sent an email to them and I was like, I need the, how did you do that? I need this mobile kitchen. Mm-hmm. And then they started to write us. And actually Über den Tellerrand then said, why don't you get in contact with someone from Social Gastronomy movement? So it was like this, okay, we started with Über den Tellerrand, and then they transferred, like, I told them about the idea I had, the name of the foundation was a different one, and I was ideating with someone from that foundation, the name. He said, take our logo, because in the beginning, it was a volunteering network. So I never had the idea of even creating a foundation. I just wanted to have fun on the weekends, connect people, and just share new know-how, let's say, around nutrition and food with the community. and for myself, because I was also not the, like I also wanted to learn. So it was a part of it. So you can see here on the pictures, moments where we cook together with the women. Right now, we are also having more children. Can you actually see this? Wait a minute, I'm going to take this away. So
I can see your mouse as well, if that's what you were asking.
Okay, perfect. And more children are participating in the workshops which we're having. And what I was telling you in the beginning, yes, women said we want to get to know different recipes, but actually once we started to give workshops and got to know the reality of the community, we really realized that there was a problem, like a huge problem. And like very often when you hear about food insecurity, you hear about the silent pandemic of chronic diseases and illnesses, which is related to the bad food we eat, to the very processed food we eat. We're not eating enough fresh food. We're not intaking enough vitamins, maybe not enough protein. So we realized, through those cooking workshops, we can actually tackle this problem. And there is another big problem in Colombia, is the food waste. We're throwing so many fruits and vegetables away. And again, it's not that we read it like online, no, like we saw it. Like we were passing by a supermarket, one of the community leaders, Angela, which is part of the German project, she sent me one day a video and said, wait a minute, we're learning to cook with all those fruits and veggies. Why is this supermarket throwing them all away? And send me a video. And I was like, well, it's because they're not nice enough anymore. People don't want to buy it anymore because it's a bit maybe too soft or too mature, but we can actually use it for sauces, for juices, for soups. So that was something where I contacted right away the food bank. We have 2 food banks in Colombia and a big food bank association in Colombia, which a lot of members or friends also told me, wow, Colombia in that part is very unique. Like not every country is counting with that. Very often food banks do food assistance, but with the food banks here in Medellin, we can actually get registered as a foundation, and then they send us all that food waste, which normally would be thrown away. So that was another challenge. We were like, we can tackle this as well. And if you see here, like households in Colombia, more and more, especially after pandemic, are living in food insecurity. Right now, we're having a big inflation in Colombia, and food is so expensive now. It's really like I'm back here and I'm shocked. Like I don't know how people go and survive with what is the minimum, like $200, $300 per month, with 5 to 6 people living in one household. So it's shocking facts. And the idea is in the workshops also, we have to integrate that more. Every day we're like thinking about how can we improve the methodology and getting also the economic aspect in. Because if we are promoting fresh, nutritious food and showing what opportunities food have, we also want to show them, it's also a possibility to actually, eat better with less money, hopefully. So that's what Platos Sin Fronteras does. We use food and social gastronomy to reduce food insecurity risks through nutrition education, and that nutrition education process can also create new economic opportunities for everyone who is participating in the program. And for us, as I mentioned, like with the food banks, like the part of the sustainability and kind of like explore the circular economy, using ingredients and materials, avoiding the use of plastic and using food waste, hopefully more and more in our workshops. That's one of the values we want to foster. And later I can also give Mona the word for, because sustainability also means we are applying every month to grants, but we also want to become sustainable ourselves. So we want to actually create those education processes and then generate income with the women for the foundation and for them. So we become a sustainable organization. And social, of course, in the heart of everything what we do, because we are really trying to always optimal allocate the resources we're getting and really reinvesting it in the community and in our model. And what we mentioned, a lot of households do not know the opportunities which fresh food has and what nutrition actually means. So everything what we can do to address malnutrition in the communities with new recipes that have less sugar and more vegetables and fruits, that's something which should be actually visible in every single workshop we do. So yeah, that's something we are promoting. And here it looks a bit, and for those who maybe are not that active in the social sector, the first thing we did is 3 years ago, a theory of change, which means we needed to understand what the impact of every single action is we do. So what are the results of the workshops, but what is the midterm and long-term impact? And we just 1 month ago, we did another workshop session also with Mona and with every day someone new and wonderful joins the foundation. So we did a workshop this year to understand and to create our model, to really make it stronger. And now we can say we have those 4 pillars to create, hopefully, the impact we want. And one is the connection pillar. So everything what we do before we go into a new community, and this is also something like Platos was never thought, I mean, it's not true. There was a dream about like bringing this everywhere, but it was like so far away in 2018, like because we just were understanding like the local realities in this little community, Moravia, which has 50,000 inhabitants. But then we realized the power. More and more people were joining, and then we said, wow, like this actually works everywhere. Why don't we start bringing it to other communities? So Platos right now is not only connecting in one community, it is actually strengthening communities and the actually now national ecosystem of Colombia. So we're Medellin in different communities, but now we're also going to Cucuta. We have a beautiful team in Bogota. Through partners, we went to also the banana region or plantain region in Colombia, very rural in Urabá. And last time in one of the sessions with Social Gastronomy, there was someone from Lima who was an ex-volunteer from Platos and wants to bring the model to Lima. And other people are right now saying, oh, we want to bring this to our communities. So how do we create that model? And then the second pillar is learning. Let's learn together. And that's the heart of everything, right?
Yes.
And then maybe, do you want to keep explaining, Moni? Yeah? Okay, then I give you the word once because Mona does all the part of after the learning process. Yes. So the curriculum, which is the heart, is like, so in the beginning we were like just doing the workshops, but then we saw, it would be nice if there are different modules which build on each other. So women can actually grow in that learning process. So now we have modules, now we have certification programs with alliances with technical schools here in Colombia, El Sena, for example. So they can learn or get a certificate in food manipulation and basic cooking courses. And then they get into the modules of Platos, which is learning how to do new recipes based on mainly plant-based ingredients, right? So this is in process, and we're like making it every day better with partners. David is also here with partners, with volunteers, with chefs who are bringing their knowledge in to make this curriculum stronger.
And Paola, may I just ask you on these alliances that you're mentioning? I think that is key. How do these courses then work? Would then the participants just be able to participate in another course and get certified that's held by the university, for example, right?
Yeah, so the one is the technical school, which is just one module, which is the food manipulation, but the rest is modules from Platos, which have been co-created with our chef network. So they can either participate. We have alliances with cultural centers in the communities, or with schools, Or even in Bogota, for example, chefs and owners of restaurants are open their doors for us. So we're doing those modules and education process in the restaurants, in the partner restaurants. And they get certified if they participated in 40 hours of modules of Platos Sin Fronteras, and they get a certification in the end of the process. And they get a technical, like really a certification as well from the technical school, which makes it much easier for them to actually integrate themselves into the work world, let's say, in the gastronomic sector.
Perfect. Thank you for elaborating.
Yeah. And then like we actually hand over the women who have been doing all those modules to Mona's team. And then you can maybe tell a bit.
Yes, I can add a little bit, because Paola already mentioned sustainability, and sustainability for us also means creating a long-term impact, right? I mean, food assistance, especially in a context like the pandemic, is very, very, very important, of course, when people are starving, facing hunger. But our idea is also to create something more long-lasting, like a more sustainable impact in that sense, to say, okay, first of all, like the heart of the nutrition education process is the knowledge transfer, is the cooking modules. Like we have this curriculum created, and the idea is for our beneficiaries to participate on all the sessions and all the modules to really, increase their knowledge in like healthy, sustainable, conscious eating, and have like more healthier, more nutritious options for their personal diet or lifestyle at home for them and their families. And especially since we work with women, with mothers, like we really know the importance like of their role, let's say, in their homes, in their communities as well. But then like in addition to that, after like the personal process, let's say, in like more nutritious eating or more conscious alimentation, then we create this second part, let's say, of the process, which is experimenting, designing, innovating, like our entrepreneurial modules, where we support the women in coming up with their own ideas in offering gastronomic services and products. So that could be catering, that could be looking for jobs in the gastronomic field, that could be offering their own products and services. And then also in addition to that, as an organization, we offer social gastronomy experiences. So cooking classes, but which are more than just cooking classes, because of course there's also like there's always the social part about it, where people, let's say tourists, clients from companies, but also individuals come to us. They want to learn about Platos, they want to learn about the model, they want to cook with us, they want to know the communities, the women. So this is also a moment, like an opportunity for the organization, for us to become more sustainable, because that's a source of income for us as an organization to be then able to offer more classes in the communities. But it's also a source of income for the women, because after the process, when the women like finish the modules and they have also participated like in the experimenting, designing, innovation process, then they are ready to offer classes themselves, to become chefs themselves, right? So we give them we support them in that process to become more independent, like find opportunities in that sector, but also even within the organization, we give them this opportunity to co-create and to offer those kind of products and services, create income. And of course, also when there's more income, then you can provide better for your family, have a better nutrition. So it's really like a circular model. And then, of course, it's also like, it's important to mention catalyzed change, because we really believe in the power of replication, not just in like, okay, we can go to different areas in the country and we can replicate our model, but also see the women as catalyzers of change, because they then, with the knowledge, they go back to in their communities, they will share the knowledge, they will apply it at their homes, in their communities, in possible jobs, and share that process with others and inspire.
And just to complement there, it's like, for example, tomorrow, this afternoon, our team is going to the house of one of the women who has been completing the training module for actually offering social gastronomy services herself. And she's doing it now in her house. And then the idea is that she can start replicating it, as Mona says. Next week, we also have an event with an artist. So we're going to art galleries now and like to offer the social gastronomy experience there. And the idea is that that the women can start learning and to get really like a lot of like that empowerment, you know, like that they're not that they really trust in themselves, and that they trust that they can teach and train, and that they have something to tell. And our dream is, and that's when the replication model comes in. When we start replicating, the idea is that we replicate it in support or in collaboration with other social organizations. So, and this is, I think, super important, because in the beginning, I think sometimes we're very afraid to share a model and say, we put so much effort in it. It was 3-4 years. And now we have finally pillars, and finally we have a curriculum. And how can you just send that out to someone? And of course, you have to have some restrictions, not restrictions, but some processes there. But we saw that if other foundations and social organizations support us to replicate the model, that's where magic happens, because we learn from their curriculum and from their experience, and they learn from others. And then we really believe in, for example, Cucuta was with Comparte por una Vida, which is a foundation in Bogota. So now they also want to bring the model to Venezuela. Bogota is with the foundation Soy Doy, the founders Andrea, and then they're like, let's do this, and they give us the community, and then we learn from them how they applying the questionnaires better to characterize the people we're working with. So in Medellin, it's also like with companies and with, for example, Griffith Foods has been a great partner there, and some other like universities and other social organizations who are helping us to replicate. So how can we create a collaborative model and find a way to replicate it also in a way that is good for everyone who is participating in this ecosystem?
And I would just like to add one thing, because I think that's also valuable, like learning, or something really valuable from the social gastronomy movement, and something that we also see or learn from Über den Tellerrand, because it's also, okay, people like coming to us saying, we love what you're doing, we would like to do that somewhere else, because of course we as a small organization, we can't be present everywhere, but feeling like, okay, what Paula just said, it's not about this is our model and it's just like where we are and what we do. No, we want to share this, and we are happy when people approach us and say, okay, we want to create that impact as well in another region, because we believe, we need to work together. And there's so much issues regarding food insecurity, for example, I mean, everywhere, but especially in Colombia, and especially after the pandemic, even more. So we also love the idea that others approach us to be able to replicate. It's not something exclusive,
But you can tell that you've done this before, because you sort of answered all the questions I had specifically for it. But it's interesting, because you added a point when you talked about Über den Tellerrand, it's transfer of knowledge and even materials such as the logo, etc. And now you took it a step further of actually saying you can collaborate on actually implementing elsewhere as well. So just to make sure that we understood well, so anyone could take your methodology now as it is and implement it in their own country.
Yes.
Right.
And the idea is that replication model, we also co-created with that organization, right? So the foundation says, I want this. Yes, there are some like a memorandum of understanding, and there is this process which we have to go through as a foundation, because yes, we cannot just like give it away and then people are replicating it, but like not maybe sticking to the values and to the mission we have, right? So that's something, especially when they start becoming Platos Sin Fronteras, then we need, of course, a process which we're right now designing. But the idea is that everyone can take this and bring it to their communities and get strengthened by our team who had that experience. So we're really thinking of those who want to replicate it. We can meet them once a month, give them a support network. And then also, it's not only Platos, because then automatically they have the support network as well of social gastronomy, right? So if I'm in Lima, if I'm in Chile, I want to replicate this model, well, then maybe I first go to the Fundación de Gastronomía Social in Santiago, and I learn how they are doing it. And I get maybe a little chat with someone from the foundation who can support you. Like, how is the social process? How does it work? What risk? What opportunities? So having working always as a network in collaborative on a national, and then you have the global movement. That's where a lot of opportunities lie and a lot of power, I think.
And that I believe also, like, I mean, finding allies and collaboration is key, but also understanding the local reality, right? Because, for example, when we started Bogota, we saw, okay, it's also a different community than the community we were working in Medellin, or even in Medellin, the communities can be different. So also like to do this process of understanding of like mapping the local, understanding the local ecosystem, because I mean, the idea of replicating is great, but you really need to understand the local context. You can't just like take it anywhere, but there's a process that needs to be done previously to understand what are the needs of the community, who are we working with, who are local like allies we can join forces with, you know?
Brilliant. Yeah. So in a way, there are two pathways. You could just get inspired with what you've heard about the model and bring it to your local community, start your own operation initiative, or you can go a step further and actually say, hey, we want to bring Platos Sin Fronteras to my local community. And that's where the collaborative process starts.
Yes.
Which is great. So along the way, and I know that you've started off wanting to be an initiative just to help out the local need and follow that passion, and then it turned into something more formal. So along this way since 2018, what were a few challenges that you've encountered that you could just share now with whoever is listening? So when they start their own initiatives or projects or even organizations, that they can learn with you from these challenges and how you tackle them.
I think one big challenge which we always connected with was to the growth forest quality, especially right now. Like when we are seeing that we can actually grow, how do you not lose focus? So that's one of the challenges where I'm like, how do we not lose focus? We need to strengthen the women. We can't, because very fast, like when you start replicating, then suddenly maybe you leave some women behind and they're like, hey, what happened with me? Like so you have to be very sensitive, and for us, and it was very beautiful because I went with one of our interns, Sandra, to Chile, and we visited different foundations, and we saw one foundation which was acceleration, boot camps, 10 days, you know, like now, and it was very powerful and very inspiring because yes, time, you know, like people need to, and it's a fact, like unfortunately, like a lot of women, people with who we're working, they need income. And then we talk about food insecurity and about all those beautiful recipes and how we can actually source our food better, but they need more money to actually nourish themselves better and have that stability to go into education processes. So I understand that acceleration programs, that they're very powerful. But in Platos, we said, okay, yes, we need to find that model as well, but let's also focus, like let's also have slower processes. Let's take the time. Workshop, they applied at home, workshop, they applied at home, and a bit more focused on really deep, profound processes. So we're right now in that, you know, like that is one big tension we have and one big challenge, like being fast, being also like ready for the market, but at the same time, not losing that quality and that slower pace, let's say.
And the focus.
And the focus, and the focus, very important. And as a founder, let's say, or as you know, one big challenge, like for me personally, has been that after how many years is it now? Like 5-6 years of being in that process and really sometimes also like struggling, like you start with nothing. Like Platos didn't start with a philanthropist or with a big grant of, you know, where you can, no, it was very like with the hands, like, oh, here's a little bit of money, there's a little bit of money. I think the first support was during the pandemic, where I decided to create the legal entity. And I felt very alone because I was like, oh my God, like who wants to create this with me? And nobody wanted to. It's like, anyone wants to be the legal, like my you know, like legal support, and people were like, oh no, I don't do this. So I asked actually a friend, a lawyer, and I was like, please help me with this. And I remember to that time, like I think 6 months after or so, we applied for the fund which Social Gastronomy was offering for during the pandemic. And that was one of the biggest, like it was a really big fund in the beginning for us, you know, and then we started to do, and that's where the nutrition education note started. The idea was in my head, like it was in my head somehow, the people who were with us, but then we're like, okay, now let's make that a reality. Because in the beginning, it was really just one donation here, one donation there, one grant, beautiful people around who were just, you know, like very powerful. And then we started it. But yeah, like that's struggling sometimes, financial struggle, like you sometimes feel very alone. You have always new people coming in. So you're like, oh my God, like, hey, let's not forget, you know, like this is already like, this already exists. Let's build on what is already there. But so it's like up and downs. And a last thing is like not lose yourself in the process. So you're serving, you're helping, you're creating this movement, but at the same time, like, how do you also keep taking care of yourself, of your own, I mentioned it last time, like of your own node, of your own little nest. So it's very important, like as a founder, as if you do those social processes, like sometimes you get lost as well. So it's like focus in the organization, but also focus for having like also like a lot of abundance for yourself, let's say, because only if you are full, then you can actually give and support and give everything what you have to this baby or to this movement. So that was a bit from my side.
You have a lot of movements actually happening now, right, for the third sector, supporting the well-being, because it is so easy to get lost. So that is definitely a very good advice. So everyone's listening, focus, do not lose yourself, and the ups and downs, learn to navigate them. They'll always be there. Even 5 years down the road, I think you still feel those. And Mona, you've been with Platos now for 2 years. What challenges and learnings would you like to share with the group now?
Since I'm like mainly responsible for fundraising, I think that's the big issue for anyone in the social sector. Like that can be in Germany, in Colombia, anywhere. It's always a difficult, it's always a challenge to find the funding. That's why we also have this, you know, we want to focus or strengthen this second arm, let's say, which is like creating our own income through services and products to not only depend on funds, because it's a large process. You know, you have to do the research, you have to apply. So that's, of course, also time consuming when at the same time we are operating. So it's also sometimes like, okay, I need to focus on fundraising, but we're at the same time already operating. So this is like, then it's also because, like we all really care about Platos, about our project. So it's like, okay, we need to secure funding to be able to implement what we want to do. And what Paula just mentioned is also, sometimes I struggle to be patient. It's like, okay, no, you know, it's going to take time. We cannot be everywhere at the same time. But since we believe so much in the mission and what we're doing, we see the necessity and the urgency. When we talk to our beneficiaries, okay, no, we want to do everything like right now, but to have this, to maintain this patience, sometimes it's a bit tough, let's say. And then there's also what Paula mentioned about like, I've been a volunteer like basically all my life, and then also finding this limit between what is my work and what is my free time. And when you know, it's easy when you don't care that much about your job. It's like, okay, it's 5 p.m. I'm just going home. But no, I believe in this mission. I've been a volunteer before. I really want Platos to grow. Same for Tellerrand in Berlin or in Germany. So sometimes it's a bit tricky to find this limit to say, okay, but I also need to rest. I need to take some time away to maintain my energy to then put it into my work, you know? I think everyone who's been a volunteer or has worked in the social sector knows that reality.
Great. So just to reiterate on the funding piece, which I do agree is very important. And so the two things, the learnings were within that challenge of funding and keeping the organization alive, bringing patience to the process is important, as well as getting your energy from the impact, right? So reconnecting to the why.
Yes.
Great. And yes, it is a very good point about the balance and rest, especially on the volunteer networks, because there are so many organizations that actually depend heavily on volunteers or interns. So that is definitely an important point, especially when kicking off. So anyone that takes this model now and wants to implement it, there will be that element of volunteerism. And so that is definitely an important point. Great. So bringing us to the last section. So actually, yes, now we've heard about the motto, about the inspiration journey, as well as challenges. And what would be the advice that you would give for anyone now starting off either for the pathway of just, I got inspired, I want to do something along the lines, or actually stepping into a collaboration with Platos Sin Fronteras, bringing the entire organization to very local communities. So I'd love to hear some pieces of advice from both of you.
Okay, I can start this time. Definitely ask questions, like reach out to us, reach out to other like members of the social gastronomy movement or any other organizations that you feel like could give you advice. I think sometimes we are afraid to ask, or we think, okay, they might not like, yeah, I'm just afraid, but no, please ask. I mean, the worst thing people can say is no, but I think we all believe in the mission. So we're happy to share knowledge, to, you know, have a knowledge transfer exchange, and then also finding allies. I think that's a big lesson learned in Platos. And like when I think, for example, about the process in Bogota, okay, we cannot start on our own. We need partners on the local level. Okay, who can we team up with? How can we, you know, like share our strength? Because we might have this kind of knowledge, but we need someone else or some other organization with other types of knowledge, of capacities, you know. So I really believe in finding allies, like on the ground, let's say, for starting a new project. We're not gonna go somewhere where we don't know anyone and just be like, hi, we are Platos and we want to do this project. No, we need to work together with people who are already there, who know the community, you know, to also have this trust in the communities, because it could be a bit weird just to show up out of nothing, out of the blue, like, okay, we have this great project, but we need to create trust, we need to create community. So I really believe in, definitely finding allies, finding partners, and collaborating.
Mm-hmm.
Great advice, Paola.
I feel it's about, if I connect with the purpose and I feel there is a need, I would recommend to just, because a lot of times we have this initial, we want to do it, but we are fearful. So we don't want to do it because we're not sure, am I going to do it right? So I just feel like try it out, like make a first cooking session. Just take some veggies, some fruits, go to the community. That's how Platos started. Very light, little people. And then you will see what's going to happen, right? So I think, why don't you just start cooking first and finding some women or someone who wants to learn something. Has been beautiful with Lala Loera, who is the director of Comparte por una Vida, because her sister right now is in Venezuela and she's a chef. And she's asking that. She's like, I know how to cook. I have those partners. Where can I start? Let's just start doing a first workshop, and enjoy the process, especially in the beginning, because it's so light. Like having all those volunteers coming in and people getting to know you and just asking, oh, what is this about? And just just enjoy. Take it easy in the beginning, and then partners, as Mona says, yes, they're very important. Especially having friends with you, and getting support from volunteers, which is going to come alone. I think just people are going to start appearing once you're connected with that purpose. So yeah, that would be my recommendation.
That's great advice, and you again once more went straight into my next question, which was what first step to take if you replicate. But then just to recap, ask questions. People are open to share, get the right allies and partners to start, and start with something. Don't get fearful of a big challenge of that purpose that Paola was saying to connect, but just start with little things. So in that, see what emerges. So I love these 3 pieces of advice from both of you. And once more, love to dig deeper into Platos Sin Fronteras model. And I learn every time, so that's cool. We could do another one, and I'm sure I'd learn again.
Other one in Chinese then.
We're also learning every time.
Well, we can do one in German. There we go. Then we have a complete series. Wonderful. So at this point, I'm just going to stop the recording for our online podcast and media library, and we'll continue with questions in the room. So thank you to both so much, and yes, I'm looking forward to see where these new Platos Sin Fronteras, or just inspirations, are going to pop up soon.
Thank you, Nikki.